Welcome to another episode of Dear Marketer. On this episode, we are chatting with Nandita Kamath, CMO at Britannia Bel Foods, someone who truly gets what it means to make marketing work in the real world. We talk about how to speak to regional audiences without falling into cliches and why packaging does more than just sit pretty on shelves. How shopping habits shift by store type and all the small decisions that make a big difference at the point of purchase. Nandita, thank you for joining me in this episode of Dear Marketer. So happy to have you.
Thank you, Harshini. Thank you so much for having me here. Feels very, great to be here on this set.
The confirmation happened very quickly with you. I think we just had one phone call and then...
Yes.
You're one of the coolest guests. You know why? Because there was nothing about, are the questions ready? How are the questions going to be? No fuss about that. You were so chill and relaxed about, okay, chalo, let's just do the shoot. So that's pretty much how our interactions have been so far.
Yeah, and I'm glad it has been that way because, it's the first time that, I've been a part of a setup like this, right? And like we were discussing earlier, I think the beauty of it is to, sort of keep it as raw as it can be,
Tata Consumer Products, you've taken care of Tetley, you've taken care of Chandrika, you've taken care of, now you're taking care of Britannia's The Laughing Cow.
Yes.
So all of these brands are one of the very famous FMCG brands that India, everybody, the consumers in India would have it on top of their head. So what is it like for you to have gone through that journey? You know, the brand that you're actually selling out, you're sitting there and strategizing marketing for it. Now, no, not many of the people would know, but how does it feel?
I would consider myself to be just very fortunate, to have got opportunities, not once, but several times, right, to lead marketing for iconic brands. It, of course, comes with a large responsibility, right? But I think, I think I only feel humbled, and there's been so much learning.
You told me that cheese is still an under-penetrated category in India.
That's right.
Somewhere I also feel that Indian consumers view cheese as a premium brand still. Okay, it's still a premium thing for me to put it in my daily cooking because cheese has never been a part of the traditional Indian home cooking, even in the north or in the south. There are a lot of Western influence that has come in. So how are you tackling that? There's first, you have to change the mindset of the consumer or make them understand that this is something that you can incorporate in your daily. Of course, with a lot of YouTube content these days, people have started it, but then there is still, like you said, there's still a lot of, penetration that needs to happen. So how are you tackling that entire thing?
You're right. I think when it comes to dairy, cheese relatively is seen as a Western format, right? Unlike butter, curd, it's yet to, sort of find its way into everyday diet of Indian consumers, right? So what we have been doing is trying to, sort of encourage category adoption, ensuring that the pricing is something that the consumer is able to afford, right? So what we've also done is we've launched formats that can, sort of facilitate penetration of the category. For instance, last year we launched cheese in a sachet format. In fact, we are the only ones to, sort of make this category available in a 15 rupee sachet.
Wow. Okay.
The idea was, to democratize cheese, to make it affordable, so that it can find its way into the consumer households. And once consumers have, sort of bought into the idea of consuming cheese, it's about, sort of just ensuring stickiness, right? We understand that cheese is primarily consumed by kids, right? For most mothers, right, the top challenge today is to get, their picky eaters to finish up their food. And when we met these mothers, right, what we realized is that today the role of cheese in their lives is to, sort of instantly enhance the taste of dish that they prepare at home, something that their kid would otherwise reject, right? All they need to do is to just top it up with a little bit of cheese, and they are assured of the kids, sort of quickly finishing it up. So it plays the role of an instant taste enhancer. But for the mom, I think it's much larger than that, right? There is, of course, a tangible payoff that the food that she's prepared for her kid is getting, finished. There is enough nutrition that is going into the kid's tummy. But I think larger than that, it is about this satisfaction.
Understanding your consumer, knowing your consumer,
Right.
getting all those consumer insights. Somewhere comes from the early days of your career. You
Absolutely.
started out in consumer research. I think that's a very sweet spot to start. A lot of people think starting out in a very fancy digital marketing agency or a very big product company is the sweet spot. But if you ask me, I have my own difference of opinion, because a lot of the brands out there have this passion of, okay, I want to do this business, or I want to create a brand or a category. Let's go, sell to the audience, take it live, bring it to the market. But what they lack the most, and most of the brands are not able to sustain because they're not able to know that there's a product fit or not, if the consumers, what is the consumers really wanting. So all of this again takes back us to the consumer importance of consumer insights and research. So how has your early days of consumer research been, and then how is it benefiting you now?
To be very honest, starting my career in consumer insights was not really a planned decision.
Oh, okay. But it's the best one.
But it's the best thing to have happened to me. When you're in consumer insights, you need to be with the consumer, right? Because you need to understand them inside out to be able to, sort of really harness those strong consumer truths, right? And you should be able to support your client with those relevant consumer truths, right? Based on which they can, sort of build their, brand strategy and marketing campaigns.
How difficult or easy is it to be marketing FMCG products? Because these products, like I said, is so iconic and out there in the market, and a lot of the brands that you've worked with are legacy brands that have been in the market for so long. So one, you have to uphold that legacy that's there. Second, you need to also have that kind of a relevance to the audience.
It's not easy for sure, and it definitely varies from category to category. For instance, when I was handling Chandrika, right? There were a set of challenges. One is, of course, it's an Ayurvedic brand. Ayurveda in itself was, sort of as a concept, right, was not widely acceptable, right? It was limited to just certain geographies in the southern part of India. So for us, the challenge was, one, how do you really fight the leader, which was Medimix at that point of time within that segment, and how in that process do you also, sort of make Ayurveda relevant, to a larger set of consumers, so that you grow the segment, and in that process, sort of gain a larger share of the pie.
Right.
So what we did then was that, again, it started with knowing the consumer. There was this norm that, okay, when it comes to soaps, consumers are largely looking for, glowing skin, because that was what most of the brands back, I'm talking about, 12, 15 years back, right? Most of the brands were, sort of making a similar promise of either fair skin or glowing skin. But when we met consumers, right, it was quite a revelation, because what many told us is that more than maybe a fair or a glowing or a soft skin, right? What I need is a skin which is clear of blemishes, right? A clear skin is what gives me most confidence. That's the most basic, right, need that I have when it comes to my skin, right? I don't like it when, there are blemishes on my face, because that tends to, sort of dent my confidence. To me, soft, glowing, fair skin is something that comes much later, right? And I was surprised that nobody in the category, right, was really talking about this problem. And that's what we picked up for Chandrika, right? And Chandrika was actually already delivering on it, right? Because when we met a lot of Chandrika soap users, what they told us is that, it works wonders. They swear by it. They're like, every time I have a skin problem, I bathe with Chandrika for a few days and I am rid of that skin problem. So that's where we saw an opportunity, to spin something which is seen as a problem solution to something which has a stronger benefit for the consumers, right? You spin the narrative from being problem solution and therefore medicinal to, sort of an everyday, beauty soap. Yeah, I would talk about Tetley, for instance. Again, a challenger brand, right? Had to take on the market leader, which is Lipton. Green tea, again, a very under-penetrated category, and I'm talking about 5 years ago. The largest barrier to category adoption was the astringency of the product, right? It tastes bitter. While the health benefits of green tea are widely known, a lot of them can't really, sort of stick to a green tea because it's not a palatable taste, right? They cannot get themselves to drink it on a regular basis. We were like, okay, why does green tea have to be bitter? It doesn't have to be. Right? So we, again, we questioned the category norm and we in fact launched a variant in Tetley. It's called the Tetley Mango Green Tea, where we completely masked the astringency or the bitterness of green tea, address the largest barrier in the category and then get consumers to, sort of adopt the category and be able to, sort of consume it on a regular basis.
Normally people say India is a market, but how I look at it is India, every state is a market. Because McDonald's had this thing, so they have a Mek Aloo Tikki for a Delhi, and then they have Mek Spicy Paneer for a Mumbai person, and then they also have a separate vegetarian menu curated for Gujarat. And also when you talk about the spiciness, in the north, it would probably be chaat masala, and here in the south, it would probably be a gunpowder. So the variation is so much that how do you incorporate marketing in a way that it is able to reach the audiences properly?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think there is a concept of one India anymore, right? And I, in fact, understood this very early in my career when I was working at Tata Consumer Products, right, on a brand called Tata Tea Chakra Gold, right? So I was doing a study on tea consumption in South India. What I realized is that tea preferences, right, change every few kilometers. The preference when it comes to the milk-water ratio, to the size of the tea grain, right, to even the amount of time that they would, sort of hold the tea in their mouth, right, and savor it, right, before they swallow it, changed every few kilometers. In the same context of tea, having had this insight, when we were introducing a new variant in Tata Tea Chakra Gold, we in fact looked at different product recipes for different markets. In fact, back then, the brand predominantly sold in two markets, which is Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. In both these states, right, we saw a massive difference in the way they, sort of consume tea. And therefore, we launched separate product recipes under the same sub-brand, right, to meet the local, preferences of these consumers.
FMCG products are normally known for their packaging as well.
Yes.
So packaging plays a crucial role in marketing. I normally see packaging as the first ad that probably people would see, and it's a lifetime ad. You just put it out there and everybody knows, okay, that's your brand. So versus a brand campaign that you would probably run and then would run for certain time or day. Packaging plays such crucial role that there was this one campaign that Bonvita did. It was for a very limited time period, and it was a limited edition campaign where they wanted to talk about, they had all their Bonvita packaging in the form of a Harpet package, or it was in a refill package, or it was in a like a round box also. So it was for a campaign where it was targeted to the parents to let them know that every child is different and you can't expect the same thing out of them. So it was a very thoughtfully put campaign, and they used packaging as the major tool as well. So what is your take on how packaging impacts marketing?
I believe packaging has a very strong role to play within marketing, right? For any brand. Like you rightly said, it's the first and the most honest media channel for any brand, right? It's something that reaches to 100% of your buyers at the first moment of truth, right? Much before your ad would have reached your buyer or a potential buyer, she or he would have likely seen your pack on the shelf, right? Packaging, plays a very strong role also because it is the only brand, a physical brand touch point, which, sort of lives with the consumer, right? The impact that you can actually build for your brand through your pack is unmatchable, right? Because see, with a campaign, there is a certain shelf life to it, right? But like you rightly said, when it comes to your product and the pack, it is there, and the packaging actually also, sort of helps a brand project what they are, right? In terms of the brand personality, in terms of what the value the brand holds, the brand promise, right? All of it, sort of comes together in a pack, right? It helps build memory structures for a brand, like what Coke has been able to do over the years, right? Which is the shape of the bottle, you're able to identify that it is Coke. So that's the power of the packaging.
So before, packaging was more of branding. That's something that I would say, because it was always about how big can you put the brand name and what are the vibrant colors that you can pick, so that it's very eye-catchy for the consumer when they're going around the shelves and they're able to quickly spot you. But today, packaging is more about convenience, I feel. Like, for example, there was this honey brand, I forgot the name of the brand. So they found out that they had a very, the dabba wala packaging that normally honey comes in. And they found it was so difficult for the customers to take it up, and it drips on your fingers and all. And they came up with a smart tube-like packaging for honey. And there are also these things about if you are packaging a chips, for example, it should tear away easily. So before, we used like itna phad ke we had to open the entire pack. Now today, people are very aware, the brands are very aware that okay, I just have to like slice it up and then it will open for me. So this is how packaging has evolved actually. Like you also mentioned about how cheese, now you guys are giving it in sachets. One, it is very affordable, so you're making it very affordable, and it is about convenience. It's also about usability. So a lot of the times we would probably use cheese for like a couple of recipes right now at the pace at which it is going. So for them to try and test, okay, let's just take this sachet and then put it up. Milkmaid came up with a sealable pack as well. So we see there's a lot of evolution in packaging. Now there's one thing that I want to understand from you. What are those do's and don'ts that you can tell to the brand which is probably evolving, or which is in that zone of reaching out to the customers on, okay, these are the things that has to be on your packaging, and these are things that just don't do it, it's just too absurd? What are the things that you have to say?
The first thing that I would sort of do is to make sure that my brand logo is quite prominent on the pack, right? Fundamental is not changing. The second thing is to keep it as clean, right, and as clutter-free as possible. What we marketers mostly tend to do is, we get a little greedy. No, we want to, sort of put in all the information about the brand on the pack, or either on the front of the pack or the back of the pack. And if it's like a box, then you also have 2 additional sides, right? So it's about maximizing the real estate that is available on the pack, and, bas pura information dalo, right? I think it's a little difficult, but I think it's important to, sort of really not given into that temptation, because you need to be very clear on what is that one thing you want your brand to stand for, right? And this is the first thing that you need to do. And then make sure that that one thing, after your logo, stands out on your pack. Because again, right, there is very limited attention span, right, with consumers. So the first thing you need to do is to, sort of make sure that your design stands out on the shelf so that you're able to catch attention. And once you've done that and you've been able to nudge the consumer to, pick the product off the shelf, because you've been able to intrigue her, you've been able to build that curiosity ki, "Arey, kuch to naya aaya hai," or there is something which is standing out. Let me see what it is. When she picks up, right, you're able to very clearly tell her what you stand for.
Laughing cow in your packaging, there's one very cute red color cow that I can see on the Britannia
Yes.
packaging. So is that something that you wanted to be there because it's a little playful, and also it's something that the kids would probably like? Is that the idea that you guys went behind for that packaging?
So the Laughing Cow is a global brand, right? And the red cow is part of the brand logo.
Oh, okay.
And part of the brand's visual identity.
Okay.
So when Britannia
Merged along with
merged
it, it came
got
along.
into this joint venture with Bel Foods,
Right.
we introduced the integrated brand, which is
Right.
Britannia the Laughing Cow.
Yeah.
And that's how the red cow, sort of came on the Britannia cheese pack.
Interestingly enough, it's very appealing to when I
Yes.
see it out there, it's very appealing to the kids especially.
Yes,
So,
it is.
Yeah,
It
very
is.
attractive.
In fact, we are the only brand within the cheese category to have a mascot. And we've actually made sure that, we drive a lot of engagement by leveraging our mascot, which is the red cow.
Red cow, yeah.
So there are a lot of physical stores across India where the modern trade formats, right, where you would probably bump into our mascot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me something about shelf behavior in a store. So we were talking about kids. We all know that all these biscuits or something that the kids would like are always in the lower shelves, so that
Yeah.
it's easy for them to pick and say, "Mama, I want this," and put it in the cart. So are there any other very interesting shelf behaviors that you have observed over time?
Very hard to generalize, but I think one of the biggest fundamentals is to make sure your brand is, at an eye level, because that's how you can really grab your consumers' attention. Then talking specifically in the context of cheese, see, like I said, it's a category that is still evolving,
Yeah.
right? There are different behaviors that we have observed, right, when it comes to decision making while at the point of sale, right, while at the shelf. Now, there is a certain cohort of consumers who are very clear that they want to buy a certain brand of cheese, because that's something that they have been buying for many years. It's one of the leading dairy brands. So they're very clear. They have been consuming that brand across dairy categories for very long, and therefore, it just becomes a natural choice. It's not really a conscious decision that they are making, but it's just a natural choice that I've been, using this brand for very long. Let me pick this up in cheese as well, right? So they just come, walk up to the chiller, right, the cold storage, pick up the brand and walk away. But there is also another cohort which is now emerging, which is slightly more, I would say, they're experimental, because they're just, sort of warming up to the category, right? They are open to, sort of evaluate the different brands that are available within this segment. And then, sort of based on what their triggers are. Like for some, it could be price. In fact, within this category, we see that as the top, lever that influences brand choice. So it could either be price, or it could be obviously the brand and the certain equity that it comes with, or it could be the product itself. Right? So yeah, so when it comes to cheese, it's largely this, right? So what we've realized is that when interventions at point of sale, right, when your consumer is, right there making a decision on which brand to pick, right, if you're able to intervene and be able to, sort of make the consumer experience your brand or your product, right, that, sort of really helps drive conversions for the brand, which is why we invest on promoters, right, at the point of sale. We get them to do a lot of sampling because we believe it works, especially in a modern trade setup. It really works when you get your consumers to, sort of experience the product, because you're able to influence the decision right there, right, at point of sale.
Now we're talking about Kirana store. Now there's also modern trade, there's also e-commerce.
Yes.
So how do you maintain consistency, messaging, and how is there obviously it's a different ball game altogether. How is it different when it comes to marketing in all of these?
I think consumers interact very differently with each of these touch points, right? So when it comes to Kirana, obviously consumers do not have direct access to the goods, right? So you rely heavily on the shopkeeper's recommendation.
Right.
So when it comes to Kirana, the shopkeeper becomes your media channel, right?
Yeah.
Who would influence brand decision a lot more perhaps than what your ad would, right?
Yeah.
So I think in a Kirana, it's all about being able to build that trust with the shopkeeper, right? So in many cases, what we do is that we sample products to the shopkeeper, we get them to sort of try the product so that they are convinced.
It's more about relationship
It's
building?
also about relationships, absolutely. So because that's what helps build trust, right? And that what's work in Kirana more than anything else, perhaps, right? Of course, beyond a point, it's also about profitability, right? For the retailer, if he's going to be making more money with your brand versus competition, then he would on his own, sort of try to push your brand, right? But I think that relationship and trust is of paramount importance when it comes to Kirana, right? When you move to a modern trade, right, the equation changes. There, the consumer has direct access to the products, right? And not to the retailer. So there, it's about, like I said, it's about visibility, it's about share of shelf, it's about, eye level placement, if you can get that. It's about product experience, because in that environment, it is possible for brands, right, to, sort of be able to get your potential consumers to experience your product, right? And I believe that's a strongest way of also building awareness for a brand like maybe which has low awareness, as a challenger brand, right? It's also a very strong means to, sort of build awareness. And as the consumer, experiences the product, that experience stays for much longer. And you're able to, sort of also build brand recall in that process. So that's, and of course, discounts, right? When it comes to e-commerce, again, I think the equation is very, very different. I think it's about convenience, it's about search, right? What I understand is that consumers are spending lesser and lesser time on quick commerce these days, right? So they are very clear on what they need to buy, right? So there's very limited time that you get. So how do you ensure that your brand is discoverable, right? When they're searching for your category, you need to make sure that you appear right on the top. You don't have to really scroll and look for the brand. And then again, it's about pricing, right? So it's SEO, it's about ratings, reviews, and just being discoverable there. Especially brands, smaller brands that work with limited budgets, I think it's very important to identify your consumers' journey, right? Where is it that they are consuming content, right? What sort of content are they consuming? Where is it that you can, sort of add meaning, right, to the consumer's journey? For instance, again, in the context of cheese, in partnership with our digital agency, we launched a recipe content hub last year, right? While we do our share of traditional ads, but we saw a massive relevance for a recipe content hub, because the search for cheese recipes was on a massive rise. Right? Mothers are the decision makers when it comes to cheese, right? And there is a clear problem that they are experiencing today, right, with their fussy eaters. And the whole insight being that, to tackle their picky eaters, consumers are, sort of moms are, turning towards digital platforms, looking for content, right? Especially in cheese, that can, sort of become their ally in making their kids, sort of finish up their food. So Yeah, and when we looked at the numbers, we saw a massive increase in search for specific cheese recipes, and we saw a huge potential there because I mean, there's no dearth of cheese recipe videos or content out there, but what we realized is that it's not together, right, in a central repository, something that, you know, the consumer can come to every time she's looking for a certain cheese recipe in a certain context.
Yeah, it was very warm to talk to you. I mean, I think your answers were very honest in the way you talk. There's a lot of genuinity that I can see, and there's a lot of like honest answers. You know, like, okay, I want to share this piece, and there's nothing like there's no sugar coating, there's no sophistication, there's just clear, plain, this is what it is. So thank you so much for being that.
Thank you so much. I think I had a fabulous time, you know, having this conversation with you. Like I started out saying, this is my first experience as, you know, in a setup like this.
Right.
But yeah, I really wanted, you know, to keep it raw and free flowing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad. Yeah,
got it. So I'm not
it
going to
went that
leave
way.
you until we finish the rapid fire segment and
Okay.
the have you ever. So these questions you obviously don't know, little tricky for you to answer as well.
Oh my God. Okay.
So like your main segment, I'm hoping for more raw and honest answers.
Okay.
As
I'll do
always.
my best.
So first question in the rapid fire is, which one is harder to market, tea or soap or cheese?
Okay. I would say cheese. It's a category, though niche, right, is getting very aggressive with respect to competition intensity.
Got it. Okay. Campaign idea at 2 a.m. Do you ignore it or do you note it down?
I ignore it. I love my sleep.
Are you this strict, like no work hours after I reach home? Are you that kind of a person?
Yes. But I'm also the kind of person who ends up working for more than 12 hours. But
Okay.
I believe in finishing up whatever I need to for that day in office.
Okay.
So that once I am out of that zone, I am like completely, zoned out.
A brand you admire but haven't worked on yet.
The whole truth.
Okay. One word that defines your marketing style.
Authenticity.
Awesome. Okay. Most underrated marketing channel.
Underrated marketing channel, I think it would be, I think a point of sale, brand experience.
Right. Got it. Okay. So we've done the rapid fire.
Oh, it's done. I'm so glad.
Next, we have the Have You Ever segment. This is if you have done it, yes.
Okay.
If you have not, then there's a no.
Okay.
And if you don't want to answer, there's an inverted smile.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I'll hand them over to you.
Sure.
Have you ever bought a product just because the packaging was too good? Yes. Okay. Second question. Have you ever disagreed with research findings but gone with your gut and been right? Have you ever launched something and wished you could pull it back the next day?
Oh.
No. Okay, so you're very strategic in your
No, there have been times when I have felt the need to pull it back, but not the next day.
Acha, okay. Have you ever walked into a Kirana store just to eavesdrop on shopper behavior? Yes. Okay. You've told that in the answers as well. Okay.
Yes.
Last question. Have you ever edited a messaging or copy just 5 minutes before launch?
Oh, yes.
If you have not done that, you're not a marketer.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I've changed copies after it has gone live as well.
Okay, that's
So,
a
yeah.
benchmark then. Okay.
Yeah. So
All
that's
right.
a part and parcel of a marketer's life.
Marketer's life. Okay,
Yes.
got it. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the episode. You've been a fantastic guest for the show. So
Thank
happy
you so
to have
much.
you here. Your authenticity, the way you answered, everything was super spot on. very, very happy with how the episode has come out.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think the experience and the feeling is mutual.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, having this conversation with you. Thank you.